Welcome to this explainer. Today, we are unpacking the absolutely fascinating science behind team dynamics. We're going to explore exactly why some groups just completely thrive, innovate, and pull in top results, while others, well, they just completely fall apart under the pressure.
So, have you ever found yourself doing literally all the work in a group project? You know the feeling. We've all been there. You're stuck with that one free rider while you pull an all-nighter to get the thing done. It is a universally painful experience. But rather than just venting about it, let's actually look at what the latest academic research says about this dynamic, and more importantly, how we can fix it.
Section 1. The Free Rider Dilemma and Contribution Conflict.
So, researchers put a formal scientific name to that intense frustration you feel when you're doing all the heavy lifting. They call it contribution conflict, and it goes way beyond simple personality clashes. It's a very specific type of process conflict that pops up when there are perceived inequalities in effort and workload. This whole concept is deeply rooted in social exchange theory, which is basically the idea that we have a fundamental, hardwired human need for fairness in our relationships. When we put in the effort, time, and skills, we naturally expect a balanced return. When that balance is broken, well, conflict is pretty much inevitable.
The symptoms of this conflict usually show up in a few distinct ways. First, there's outright free riding, which is a deliberate, conscious choice to just minimize effort while still riding the coattails of the group's success. Then, there's social loafing. That's a more general, sometimes completely unconscious tendency to just dial back your effort when you're in a group setting. But honestly, whether it's deliberate or totally accidental, these behaviors shatter the reciprocity rule. That perceived input-output imbalance immediately breeds deep dissatisfaction and mistrust within the team.
So, imagine a team facing a free rider. Once that trust is broken, they basically hit a crossroads with two diverging paths. Down one path, the team falls into an incivility spiral. This is a toxic, tit-for-tat retaliation cycle where other members just withdraw and reduce their own contributions to kind of even the score. Down the other path, we have the alternative, a constructive discussion where the team addresses the issues head-on, seeks fairness, and manages to maintain focus. The real question is, what actually determines which path a team takes?
Section 2. The Psychological Safety Shield.
That deciding factor between a total team meltdown and a constructive resolution is psychological safety. As famously defined by researcher Amy Edmondson back in 1999, psychological safety is the shared belief that team members can take risks without embarrassment or fear. Basically, it means you feel comfortable enough to speak up, pitch a crazy idea, or even call out a free rider without any fear of retaliation, exclusion, or damage to your reputation. A fascinating 2025 study actually mapped out a theoretical framework to figure out exactly how this kind of conflict ripples through a team's ecosystem. Instead of just assuming that contribution conflict directly ruins team performance, the researchers hypothesized that psychological safety and learning behaviors actually act as the crucial middlemen. They're the elements that either absorb or amplify the shock of that conflict.
Section 3. Exploring different perspectives.
Let's look at team learning behaviors, and specifically a team's capacity to explore diverse perspectives. To really grasp why this matters so much, there's incredible data from a massive study of 2,100 Polish and Romanian students working in multicultural teams. When you bring diverse minds together, you are inevitably going to face huge hurdles, things like language barriers and prejudices. So why put up with that? Because if you can push through and overcome them, the payoff in diverse problem-solving is massive. These teams unlock entirely new ways of thinking that homogeneous, like-minded teams simply cannot access. But there is a catch. Unlocking those diverse benefits requires taking interpersonal risks. True team learning involves free thinking, actively seeking out peer feedback, and openly managing those conflicts. According to cognitive evaluation theory, you can only engage in that high-level, highly vulnerable cognitive function if the team feels secure.
Section 4. The Serial Mediation Model. Let's look at the actual chain reaction of how all these variables interact in the real world, especially when final grades are on the line. The 2025 study looked at 199 student teams using a time-lag design to really measure cause and effect over the course of a complex project. And the real story driving all their statistically significant results, it's psychological safety.
The data reveals a severe negative pathway of minus 0.398. In plain terms, what this means is that when a free rider problem pops up,
Contribution conflict immediately and aggressively damages the team's psychological safety if it isn't dealt with. Trust just plummets and the walls go right up.
But then, we have this massive positive driver of 0.802. This proves that when a team somehow manages to maintain their psychological safety despite the conflict, it acts like high-octane fuel. It powerfully drives them to openly explore different perspectives. Psychological safety is quite literally the fuel that allows diverse, critical thinking to even happen. So here is how this builds into what the researchers call a serial mediation chain reaction. Step 1. Contribution conflict hits the team. Step 2. Psychological safety acts as a buffer and totally absorbs the shock. Step 3. Because they feel safe, the team openly explores diverse perspectives rather than shutting down. And finally, Step 4. This robust collaboration protects and ultimately enhances the team's overall performance and final grades.
Section 5. Building better teams.
The science is super clear, but let's talk about what this means for you and some practical strategies you can use in your next college project or workplace team. You can proactively build this psychological safety shield using pretty low threshold interventions. Don't wait for a conflict to blow up. From day one, explicitly discuss what fair contribution actually looks like and set clear, transparent procedures. Integrate structured icebreakers so people get to know each other as humans, not just as, project resources. And encourage informal check-ins to constantly make sure everyone is aligned on common goals.
This is so critical because simply putting diverse people in a group isn't enough to magically get great results. As the research clearly shows, you need that psychologically safe environment to ensure those diverse perspectives are actually integrated into the final output, rather than just politely voiced and then completely ignored. I'll leave you with this final, slightly provocative thought to take away today. Take a hard look at your own teams. The absence of arguing doesn't necessarily mean your team is safe or that it's high-performing. Actually, it might just mean everyone is way too afraid to speak up, and you're already caught in an incivility spiral. True safety is the ability to have the conflict, explore the differences, and come out stronger on the other side.